All right, we're going to move on to 5 headlines. Quick tip here, folks. If I'm ever in possession of some kind of important information and you need to torture me to get it out of me, which I'd prefer if you didn't, but if you needed to, here's how to do it. This is the torture method that would cause me to crack and tell you everything I know within like 5 minutes, tops. Okay, right here. The Daily Wire reports on August 1st, HBO Sports will air Seeing America with Megan Rapinoe, a conversation featuring Rapinoe, the U.S. women's national soccer team captain, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 1619 Project creator Nicole Hannah-Jones, and comedian Hassan Minhaj. This is my hell. This is literally my hell. Dear God. Horrifying. Better not to dwell on it. Let's move on to number 2. Warner Brothers Media, this is also from the Daily Wire, is investigating the Ellen DeGeneres show amid accusations of workplace abuse. According to Variety, executives from Telepictures, which produces Ellen's show, and distributor Warner Brothers Television, sent a memo to staffers last week announcing WarnerMedia's Employees Relations Division and a third-party firm will be interviewing current and former staffers about their experience working on the show. As the Daily Wire reported earlier this month, BuzzFeed interviewed several former employees of the show who claimed they experienced a toxic work environment counter to Ellen's image as a kind-hearted person. So there's been stories for years about Ellen DeGeneres being basically a terrible person who treats her subordinates like garbage. I've known this for a long time, and I'm not in the know at all, and I don't follow celebrity gossip very closely, but even I had heard this. So if I heard about this, it's hard to believe that WarnerMedia is just now finding out. They aren't, of course. It's just that everyone else is finding out. It's officially becoming common knowledge, and that means that they have to pretend to do something. They have to pretend to care. If you haven't read the accusations against Ellen, you can find them anywhere online. It's just what I said. I mean, she treats, allegedly, the people around her like utter crap all the time and is a diva on steroids, as the accusation goes. Some people find this surprising about Ellen. And I can't really see why you'd be surprised. Is it because her brand on television is that of a friendly, lovable person? Is it because she brings people on the show to perform acts of charity for them in front of a live studio audience? You know, she brings a kid goes viral with some cute video, and then she brings the kid on and interviews them and then gives them a bunch of toys, in front of everybody. Did anyone really think that reflects her character? That proves that she's performing charity in front of an audience that's clapping for you. I mean, you're literally getting a standing ovation live on the set as you perform an act of charity. It's nice. It's good for the person who's receiving the charity. I feel good for the kid that gets all the toys and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't tell me anything about you at all. None of that even remotely tells us about your character. Just because someone's nice on TV with cameras rolling doesn't mean that they're a good person once the light switches off, obviously. Really, if you want to find one indicator, one thing that tells you everything you need to know about a person's character, it's obviously not how they act when the camera's on. It's also not how they treat their friends or anything like that. Everybody's nice to their friends. That's the whole point. That's why they're your friends. It's how they treat people who they can get away with abusing. So Ellen can't get away with heaping abuse on people on TV, nor can she really do it to her fellow celebrities, people who are on her level, but she can and did apparently direct this abuse to people beneath her, interns, staff, etc. And everyone, no matter who you are, what position you have, there are people below you on the totem pole, at least in some situations. I mean, all of us, no matter how powerless we are, usually, like there are situations throughout the day that we're in where we have some kind of power over another person. And if you are an a-hole in those situations, even if it only happens briefly, right? If you're an a-hole in those situations, then you're just a terrible person. If you take advantage of those power dynamics to be the a-hole you can be, you're an awful person down the board, and we know that about you. Because it doesn't matter how you act towards your friends or how generous or nice you are to them. All that matters, as far as assessing someone's character, all that matters is how they act towards the people they can get away with treating poorly. That's all that matters. And I was actually thinking about this when I was at the DMV last week. Because, at DMV is a perfect example of this. You're at the DMV. Is someone, there's the woman sitting in the booth. Sure. There's the woman sitting in the booth across from you, and you're doing whatever, changing registrations, getting a license, whatever it is. She has enormous power over you in that situation. Now, as soon as you leave, she doesn't really, but when you're sitting there, she has you in her grasp. And if she wants to make your life miserable, she can do it. And the reason people hate the DMV is that some DMV employees enjoy taking advantage of that power dynamic, of that momentary grasp they have on you, and they do exactly that. They just make your life miserable for no apparent reason. But I was thinking about this because the woman that I was dealing with at the DMV last week was the opposite. She was super friendly and kind, and was trying to help me so that the DMV process was as painless as possible, and I thought to myself, wow, this is a very good person. I'm interacting with her for a few minutes. I don't know anything about her. Don't even know her name. I could tell you this is a good person, 100%, just because of this right here. She doesn't have to be this nice, but she is. So that's how you can assess people's character. And that's why, in conclusion, Ellen DeGeneres is terrible. Number 3, Nick Sandmann, the Covington Catholic student who was slandered all over the media, reached a settlement in his defamation suit against the Washington Post this week. This after reaching a settlement with CNN a few months ago. But CNN is not done defaming him, it seems. Brian Stelter, CNN anchor, retweeted a tweet from a lawyer named Mark Zaid, and the tweet said, those with zero legal experience, as far as I can tell, should not be conjecturing on lawsuits they know nothing about. What kind of journalism is that? I've litigated defamation suits, defamation cases. Sandmann was undoubtedly paid nuisance value settlement and nothing more. Well, so Stelter didn't say that, but he did retweet it. And Sandmann's lawyer, Lynn Wood, says that this could easily breach CNN's confidentiality agreement because they aren't allowed to discuss the terms of the settlement. Yet here's Stelter, maybe, I guess he would argue not discussing it, but amplifying someone who is, and discussing it through a proxy, in effect. And Wood indicates that he's lying anyway, that the claim isn't true. So they're just, you can only imagine how angry the people at Washington Post and CNN are, and how much they hate this kid, how much they absolutely hate him. They are overcome with hate because they're not used to this. This isn't how it's supposed to go. They slander and defame people all the time, especially speaking of power dynamics, especially focusing on people who don't have any power to fight back. And they thought that's what they were doing here. They consider it from their perspective. You almost feel sorry for them. Well, not really, but they've been doing this for so long, just defaming people, doesn't matter, painting people as racist, just destroying people's life casually like it's nothing. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they figure, okay, well, here we've got a case, just a bunch of high school kids, white high school kids. We could do this to them. Well, no big deal. We'll destroy their lives, get some clicks out of it, virtue signal a little bit. Their lives are destroyed. We move on. This is the process. This is what we do. And then Nick Sandmann comes out of nowhere and actually fights back and wins. These poor people at CNN and Washington Post, they're really the victims here. They're the victims because they weren't able to victimize someone else, or at least they victimized someone else, and then they got hit back in the nose. Number 4, an ACLU lawyer named Chase Strangio has accused J.K. Rowling of contributing to genocide by arguing that because J.K. Rowling has argued that biological sex exists. That's really her entire argument. She's not even, despite what we hear now, she is far from a conservative on gender issues or on any issue at all. The only thing she has said when it comes to transgenderism that the left doesn't like is just that biological sex exists. But that's, of course, enough to make her not just evil, but genocidal. So Chase Strangio has said that she is contributing to genocide. Let me read this diatribe from Strangio. This is what it says. Okay, this is part of it anyway. It would be nice to ignore the Harry Potter person, but the rhetoric being used on her massive platform is feeding a genocidal impulse that already exists in government and within individuals. She is dangerous. Situating the trans subject and the trans body in the contested discursive space the way she does pulls the conversation around transness into the posture of working to locate the legitimate trans subject. Did you get that? Okay. The idea being that we must defend against the allegation that too many trans people in the world reflects a problem. That is, after all, her point. And in so doing, we cede the conversation to cis people and institutions. And perhaps most insidiously, in so doing, we give the false impression that sexed bodies are things only trans people have. By obscuring the larger structural impulses behind bodily policing and the violence of the sex binary, we ensure the continuation of these structures. Okay, now, first of all, there is no genocide of trans people happening. That should go without saying. This person is making that up. Unless you count the treatment of LGBT people in Muslim countries, if that's what we're talking about, then all right, maybe you've got a case. But something tells me that old Strangio here is not intending for this to be uniquely a criticism of Muslim societies or a criticism of Muslim societies at all. Something tells me, in fact, that as far as this person is concerned, we would just, when talking about the plight of LGBT people in the world, we would just skip over Muslim countries entirely and focus completely on what's happening in the West. But in any case, genocide or not, defending biology does not amount to genocide or contribute to it or feed it. Okay. But really, I want you to focus on the ridiculous lengths this person is going to make the anti-science position seem intelligent and scholarly. Situating the trans subject and the trans body in the contested discursive space the way she does pulls the conversation around transness into the posture of working to locate the legitimate trans subject. That sentence uses about 30 words and loads of jargon to communicate something that could be conveyed simply in about 10 words. And don't be fooled by this, okay? This is the mark of an unintelligent person who wants to seem intelligent. Truly intelligent people who have legitimate points to make them in ways that are clear and easy to understand. That's what a really intelligent person can understand jargony concepts, okay? That's one level of intelligence, is to understand what's being said. The next level, real intelligence, is being able to convey and communicate it stripped of the jargon in a straightforward, simple way. If you can't do that, then it tells me you're not really that smart, or it tells me you're a pompous ass who maybe could be more clear, but you're being unclear intentionally to show off your intelligence. So either way, it's in this case, it's kind of a defense mechanism because, okay, and it works, right? I have to hand it to them in a way. It works because they use a lot of academic jargon, especially when it comes to their gender ideology on the left, all in service of the claim that men can have babies, essentially. Like, all of this, everything you just heard, is in service to the claim that a man can get pregnant. Which is, to call that a dumb position would be an insult to stupidity. This is a delusional, insane position. But they trick some people into thinking that their position is smart and sciencey just by putting in a lot of scholarly jargon and all of that. Number 5, finally, here's the San Francisco Weekly. I'm just gonna give you the caption. It says, surfing, despite its roots in indigenous Pacific Islander history, has been seen as a sport for straight white men for far too long. Okay, so now surfing is racist too. Just wanted to update you on that. Surfing is racist. And I just want to say about that, to be clear, okay? I agree, and I think we need to repeal the laws prohibiting non-white people from buying surfboards and going to the ocean. I didn't know that law existed. If it does, I say it's 2020. Let's get rid of it. I will take that stand right now. So thank you to the San Francisco Weekly. We are together in this movement. And that's your 5 headlines. Hey, you. Yeah, you right there. Hit the subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It's somewhat appreciated.